Hi children, how are you all? Are you all fine? I hope you all are fine and well. Okay, then let's begin the subject essence and chapter 5, the Vedic age. We'll see from our textbook, chapter 5, the Vedic age. So, before we start chapter, we'll see that the earliest civilization that Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, they were there. That Indus Valley civilization was there. It was hand. It was end because of some several natural calamities or many reasons were there. So that end of that civilization and then that decline of Indus Valley civilization after a new culture and new civilization it developed in India. They are Aryans and it is Vedic age. So this civilization, this Vedic age, developed in northwest part of India and then flourished in all over the part of India. This came to be known as the Vedic civilization. The Vedic age, it is known as the Vedic civilization. Different cultures were emerged. Different kind of cultures were emerged in this civilization and in some other parts of country like that in Rajasthan, Kashmir, and there were many sites recorded, and we came to know about this civilization. The main source of information, the main source of information about this civilization is the graves, then burials that have been discovered at different sites. So it is the proof of that civilization that flourished not only in India but in other countries, also Europe, then in Central Asia, and that everywhere it spread. So first is there that Aryans. You see that the Aryans who arrived in India, and they were probably from the Central Asia. They came from the Central Asia. They migrated in different parts of the world. They came from Central Asia. They migrated in different parts of the world. As you know that they migrated in different parts of the world and they moved in some went in the Mesopotamia, some in Europe, some in the Middle Asia, then many people move in Mesopotamia, Europe and Syria. So they spread in all over the world in search of that fertile land for cattle. So the group which came in India, the Aryans group which came in India, as it is known as the Indo-Aryan, and they reached in northwest part of India, and presently through it is known in uh, Hindu Kush and mountains by 500 BC. So these Aryans came in India. They came from the Central Asia and they spread in countries like Syria, Europe, Mesopotamia. They spread, and a group which came in India, it is known as Indo-Aryans. So most of the information we get about the Aryans from the Vedas. So, to learn about the Aryans, we need to learn about the Vedas. Vedas are the important earliest that scripts, it is literature. So, by Vedas, we learn about the Aryans, about the lifestyle of Aryans, we learn by the Vedas. So, we'll start. The Vedic Age. The Vedic Age in Indian history, the period between 500 to 500, 1500 to 500, it is known as the Vedic Age. The Vedic Age is also divided into two parts, the early Vedic Age and the later Vedic Age. The Vedic Age is divided in two parts, as I told you, early Vedic Age and the later Vedic Age. The Vedic Age, in Vedic Age, that Vedic literature includes that the four Vedas, Puranas, Mahabharatas, Ramayanas, then Brahmanis. These all are literature includes in the Vedic Age, and we came to know about the Aryans by this all Vedic literature. Okay, so we'll see about the Vedas. The Vedas, which are the most important, oldest literature of the world. It is the oldest of all literature and script, and they are sacred book. They are called sacred book of the Indian literature, of the Indian Hindu literature, and are the most important source of information about the Aryans. Mostly we get information about Aryans from the Vedas. So Vedic give us information about the daily life of Aryans, their lifestyle, religions, that all information get by the Vedas. So, what is Veda? The term Vedas is derived from the word. It is the root is there that Ved means that to know. Thus, the term Veda means knowledge. And there are four main Vedas are there. There are four main Vedas: the Rig Vedas, Samaveda, Yajurveda, and Atharveda. These four main Vedas are given. So by these all Vedas, we get information about the Aryans. So first is Rig Veda. So Rig Veda is the oldest of all Vedas. Rig Veda is the oldest of all Vedas, and it is composed 3,500 years ago. Originally, this Veda was not written but orally passed. Originally, this Veda was not written but it passed orally. In this Veda, you can see it contains 1028 hymns, and these were called suktas. The hymns which it comprises, it contains 1028 hymns. It is called suktas. The hymns are the prayer for the gods. The hymns are related to the prayer, related with the prayer of God. Some of the important gods of that time were that, some of the important gods of Rig Vedas are the god of fire, that is Agni, the god of rain is Indra, and the god of sky, that is Varun. So Vedas, that hymns are the prayers of gods and goddesses. There are many, as I told you, there are many gods are there: Varun, Indra, Agni. They were praying, and these hymns were composed by sages. These all hymns about the prayer of God and goddesses were comprised by the different sages. Initially, the Rig Vedas was not written but orally passed. It was written down later. Several centuries afterwards, it was written, and before that, the Vedic teachers were there. They were just taught that Vedas. They memorized each word, syllabus, and the sentences perfectly. They memorized each word, sentence and spell perfectly to the students and correctly. Most of the hymns, we talk about hymns, so most of the hymns were composed, learned and taught by the men. In that Veda, most of the hymns were composed and taught to the students by the men. But some hymns were there, it was taught by the women. So, this Rig Veda is the oldest Veda of all. There are 1028 hymns in this Rig Veda, and these hymns most probably composed by men. It was orally and then later on it is written. The Vedic teachers were there. That Vedic teacher, they taught the students by that reciting the spell, then they memorize each word and spell perfectly and correctly. So these are that information about Rig Veda. Next Veda is there, that Sama Veda. The Sama Veda is mostly a rearrangement of hymns of that Rig Veda. Sama Veda is directly related with the Rig Veda. There are hymns arranged in the Sama Veda of that Rig Veda. They were arranged and possess repetitions of rhymes and hymns were there. It shows when it's sound, when it's spoken, so it pronounced get properly arranged in the Sama Veda. Next is the Yajur Veda. Yajur Veda comprises of sacrificial prayers for certain religious rituals. In Yajur Veda, there are prayers. In Yajur Veda, prayers are given for different religions and culture. It comprises different prayers for different religions. And last is Atharva Veda. In the Atharva Veda, that consists charms and the magical spell and unique difference from the other three Veda. It is unique difference. The Atharva Veda, it is different from that three Veda. There are magical spell and charms are given, and it is unique from other Vedic texts were there. You can see other Vedic texts. The Brahmanas are the comprises and commentaries for the Vedic hymns. The hymns were spoken and recited by the Brahmanas. The Upanishad is the oldest that text and is oldest that Vedas book. It is also spiritually interpreted by the Brahmanas. And the Puranas are the Hindu religion texts that narrate the history of world. The Puranas, it narrates the history of world from its beginning to its destruction. The whole history about the world is given in Puranas. So there are many different texts by the Brahmanas are the commentaries of that text. We will see language of the literature. Vedic literature was there that mostly composed in Sanskrit language, which was quite different from other languages. Vedic literature was there, it was different from other languages. The Vedic literature, it is unique and different from other languages. It is written in Sanskrit. So, Sanskrit is the main language of that Vedic literature. We are familiar with the Sanskrit. In earlier Vedic period Sanskrit, it is different. As we know today Sanskrit, there are many differences in that both Sanskrit, the early and the today Sanskrit. The scholars have found, they study properly and they found many similarities between Sanskrit and leading then English and German. The lead conclusion by the study came to the conclusion that Sanskrit is the family of all languages. Means all the languages are related and all languages roots are there in Sanskrit. There are many common words in Sanskrit and English. For example, the word mother we can say in English. In English, we can say the word mother, and in Sanskrit, we can say matri. So these are the similarities between that Sanskrit and English. Then we can say ma word in Hindi and in Latin, mother in Persian, and there are similarities in the whole language. The South Indian languages like the Telugu, Kannada, Tamil, they are the families of Dravidian family. They are related to the Dravidian family. The South Indian that languages are there, they are related to the Dravidian that family. And then you can see that the languages spoken in Jharkhand, then as a part of the central India, it belongs to the Astro-Asiatic family. In short, we can see that Sanskrit, it is the root of that all languages. Sanskrit is the root of all languages. There are many similarities in Sanskrit and other languages. Some words are similar in Sanskrit and the other languages. Okay, so the all languages they have root related with the Sanskrit. So that all languages they have root of Sanskrit. Okay, the early Vedic age. The early Vedic age, people who were living in the early Vedic age, they were living near the Sapt Sindhu. The people lived in the Sapt Sindhu region. Nowadays it is in Haryana and the undivided Punjab. The Haryana state and the undivided Punjab, it is called Sapt Sindhu region. Most of the Vedic people lived there. The region had 7 rivers. This region had 7 rivers like Indus, Jhelum, Chenab, then Ravi, Binas, Satluj, Saraswati. These are the rivers nearby these regions, and the rivers Indus and its tributaries Bias, Satluj, Saraswati are mentioned in the Rig Veda. These rivers are mentioned in Rig Veda, and river Ganga and Yamuna are mentioned once only in Rig Veda. So, about the Vedic people, about the Vedic age, we come to know about the Rig Veda. By the study of Rig Veda, came to know about the Vedic people. Therefore, the Vedic age, it is referred as the Rig Vedic period. Political life of the people, Vedic people, that political life we will see. In the early Vedic people, there were many kinds of people living in the early Vedic period. In Indian subcontinent, there are many kinds of people living, like hunter-gatherers, dwellers, and pastorals, cattle herders, and peasants. So the Aryans, they were pastoralists. They were pastoralists, and they were divided in different tribes called the Janas. These all tribes, they were fighting with each other for cattle and for land. For cattle rearing, for cattle and for land, they were fighting. Various wars happening between means among these all people, and in tribes fought for that cattle and land. Horse-driven chariots were used in the wars, and that the battles happening at a large level. Then there are many prayers in the Rig Veda for cattle and horses. Horses were used in the wars. Wars happening in for position and cattle grazing grounds for common. Most of the men, most of the men, they took part. Most of the men took part in the battle, and after that battle, the booty was divided among the all that men. Some of the wealth, some of the wealth was taken by the leaders, and some given to the people, and that priest, they are given to the priest. Some wealth they can reserve for that yagyas, for sacrifice for gods and goddess. The tribal chief king was called Rajan, and he received a volunteer gift from the others, and he took help of the other that ministers in his maintaining that kingdom. That was Purohit, the official of chief priest, then Senani, the official of commander, then the Gramani, the village head. They were helping to the that Rajan in the maintain that whole kingdom. There were Sabha and Samiti. In that Sabha, that Samiti happening, in Samiti, all the people were taking part, and they can choose their Rajan. And in Samiti is the meeting of selected that people, selected that tribal men, people were there in the Sabha, and in Samiti were taking decision of important of that all things. So these are the information about the Varli Vedic case. I hope you understand it well. Okay, thank you children. Bye.